This is the Aventon Aventure 3. Aventon didn't popularize the fat tire e-bike category, but arguably the Aventure series has been the best-selling fat tire e-bikes to hit the market. It's hard to believe I've reviewed every single generation of this bike. For what it's worth, my dad owns both the first and second generation Aventon Aventure. So what's changed? Well, a lot of things that might not immediately be noticeable just by looking at this bike, like complete customization of the pedal assist levels, some unique security features that no other brand is doing at this price point. But don't worry, Aventon still made sure that this bike is just as capable as the first generation, just with some more advanced features. In this full review, first, I'll walk you through all the components, give you a step-by-step guide of how this bike works. Then we'll get into some first-person riding footage. I'll test the bike out on pavement, see how the motor performs compared to the previous generations. We'll take it up a hill climb test, and yes, I'll take it off-road. And then we'll get into some third-person riding footage where I'll give you the pros and cons of the new Aventure 3. But first, let's take a closer look. If you aren't familiar with Aventon, that's okay. One of their biggest selling points is their bike shop network. 1,800 plus dealers across the United States. What does that mean? You can test ride and see in person this bike for yourself before you buy, and they maintain that bike shop network while still coming in at very attractive prices. Current pricing on the Aventon Aventure 3 is $19.99, and after watching this review or any of our other reviews, we've helped you make your decision. Do me one quick favor. You can buy Aventons online. Just use our link down in the description or scan the QR code on your screen before you make your purchase. Or if you're buying in store, just email me the receipt, ryan@ebikeescape.com. We can still get credit, and that's a free way to help support the channel. Thank you so much for your support. One of the other great things about Aventon is they offer 2 different sizes in a lot of their models. And with the Aventure 3, you can get the step over in size regular for riders 5'3" up to 5'10", or size large for riders 5'10" up to 6'4". Or if you prefer the step through, that's what I recommend. So much easier to get your leg over. Also offered in 2 different sizes. Size regular for riders all the way down to 4'11" up to 5'7", or size large, what you see here, for riders 5'7" up to 6'1". I'm 6 feet tall with a 32-inch inseam, and my wife is 5'5", and she still fit on the size large. Fat tire e-bikes are heavy. This one weighing in at 76 pounds. It has a 400-pound capacity, and the entire frame is IPX5 rated. Color options on the step through are Java, what you see here, or Cobalt Blue, and on the high step, Matcha or Stealth. With that, let's dive into all the components. You get hydraulic disc brakes from Tektro, paired with 180mm rotors. Same in the rear, and we'll get to this extra piece in a second. Every full-size fat tire e-bike has this size tires, 26 by 4 inches wide. These come from Innova. Knobby tread. The front wheel attaches with a bolt-on axle. You have metal fenders in the front and in the rear, Aventon branded. Same with the front suspension fork, though Zoom makes this fork. 80mm of travel, preload adjustment on the left and lockout on the right, either fully open, or you can adjust this or completely lock it out. This is what you can expect out of the front suspension fork. Moving to the head tube, we have 4 bolts for mounting a front rack. That improves the utility of this fat tire e-bike. Aventon badge. They've cleaned up the cables. They now run into the head tube here. The front light is mounted to the stem plate, and it's pretty bright. You do have adjustability. Runs off the main battery. And in the rear, the lights are integrated right into the stays. They do go brighter when you hit the brakes, and when you turn them off, they still are brake actuated. And there's turn signals as well. Moving to the handlebars, we have matching Tektro hydraulic disc brake levers with motor cutoffs. As soon as you hit the brakes, it cuts power to the motor. There's locking grips, a left-hand thumb throttle. On the right side, Shimano's 8-speed trigger shifter, and we have a 5-button control pad on the left side. So a lot of the new functionality is built into the display. Power button in the center here. In the top right-hand corner, we have battery capacity with percentage. There's an indicator here for the data connection. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Speed front and center. Pedal assist in the bottom left-hand corner. You change that with the plus and minus buttons. So we have Eco, Sport, and Turbo. In the bottom, you can see we have odometer, and you might have noticed that the estimated range changed when I changed the pedal assist level. There's an indicator bar right here, which tells you how much motor power you're getting. Hitting the power button will give you additional information: average speed, max speed, total time, some CO2 reduced, and back to odometer and range. The turn signals are turned on by hitting the left or right button. Indicator on the screen. You can turn the lights on by holding pedal assist up. Indicator at the top. Walk mode can be engaged by holding pedal assist down. And you'll need to remember this button combination, pedal assist up and down at the same time, because that gets you into the advanced settings. So in here we have clear trip, battery lock. There's no keys on this bike. This is how you release the battery. I'll show you that in a little bit. You can lock the bike. That's one of many of the cool security features. So right now it's unlocked. And so if I hit the lock button, you hear a mechanical noise, and then yes, the bike is completely locked. The kickstand is able to go up, but at least you know no one's going to be able to ride away with your bike. They're gonna have to lift it up, but more than likely you're pairing this with a lock as well. And this is what it looks like on the screen. Next we have display unit, brightness, auto power off. You can require a password. And so the way this works is you do up or down or left or right. So that's an additional security measure. We have error history, system info, and finally connect to app. Let's do that now. Aventon has always had a great app, but now perhaps more than before, it's important to actually use it. And you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to hit pair, scan the QR code. We'll call this the EE or Ebike Escape Adventure 3. We'll hit pair. It's going to ask me to register this for the lifetime warranty on the frame. All right, and I had to get the serial number from the bottom of the frame. Click submit. Here we go. I have my Adventure 3 paired with my phone. Looks like we have some new firmware. So Aventon can make improvements and perhaps add some functionality. We'll say later to that, but I do want to activate my network. We'll do that now. Now, what the IoT service lets you do is it allows you to track your electric bike. It's free for the first year and then just $20 a year after that. I think that's a small price to pay for peace of mind. So we'll activate that. Now on the main page, you can turn the power on and off, lock your bike, turn the lights on if you want to. You can view battery percentage, change your pedal assist, current location, view some of your ride stats. There's a service section as well. We'll get into more settings in a second. In the record tab, you can see all the rides that you've recorded over time. Now, if I want to record a ride, I can hit go. And what's cool is you can see how much you've ridden over time. The Discover tab is their social aspect where you can see what other Aventon riders are up to. And then in Me, you can view some of the medals you may have earned. They have some gamification. Now, more important is the more settings on the main screen here. So you can adjust a lot of the settings that you can do within the screen, but there's a lot of extra things like unusual activity detection. Let's crank that up to 5. You can lock the bike automatically when it's powered off. I think that's a really cool setting. We can turn the alarm on. We'll do that. You can turn the speed limit up. We'll agree to their warning. And yes, I'll test it up for speeds up to 28 miles per hour. In Ride Tune, this is where you can customize those 3 levels of pedal assist and you have full control. Now, the only change I'm going to make here is that in Turbo, I want max assistance because I really want to see what this bike can do. Now on the bottom with experience, you can see how each pedal assist level interacts and changes the power, range, and smoothness. So Eco, Sport, and Turbo will confirm my changes. You can update the firmware, backup and restore, clear the bike password. There's the IoT service.
In security verification, you can activate loss mode.
You can put the bike in transport mode if you want. And of course, you can set up a geofence so you can either restrict or allow this bike in certain areas. And so you can pick a shape and I can drag these arrows out. And what's really cool is if you have it where a bike is only allowed in a certain area, then the bike just completely stops working once you leave that area. That's another anti-theft feature. And so this is how it would look if I wanted to allow a certain area instead of restrict a certain area. And of course, what's great with the data connection is you can see exactly where your bike is located, say it does get stolen. All right, and next, let's lock the bike and we'll see how that alarm sounds. And if you hear that, that is the alarm. Not super loud, but it's something. And a notification just came up on my phone. Attention, unusual movement detected from your bike. And that's just another one of the bike's anti-theft features, which is really cool. At the bottom of the display is a USB-A port for charging your device. So that is the Aventon app and display. The handlebars have a slight rise in them to put you in a little bit more of an upright riding position. On the step through, we have 2 bottle cage bosses on the down tube, perhaps for mounting the best water bottle cage on the market, available at shop.ebikeescape.com. We sell tons of high quality e-bike accessories. And if you make a purchase, it also supports the channel, so thanks. I'll go into the display and we'll remove the battery. You'll hear a sound. And notice it only partially releases, so it doesn't completely fall out. So if you push the handle, that will release the battery fully. Handle's right here. Charger port is located on the bottom of the battery. This is a 36 volt, 20 amp hour battery. It's the same battery that they're using across many of their models, and I can't wait to show you how the 36 volt system performs. The battery is certified to UL2271. The entire bike's electronics are certified to UL2849. There's a battery indicator button at the bottom. And if you're traveling, might I recommend our waterproof and flame resistant battery bag. E-bike batteries are expensive to replace, so it's always good to take good care of them. To put the battery back in, terminals first, and simply snap into place. In the box, you get a manual. We got some stickers as well as a hang tag. You get bike grease, an Aventon multi-tool, an extra derailleur hanger in case you ever need it. That's nice. A pedal wrench, which comes in handy for assembly. And finally, the Aventon charger. This is a 4 amp charger, which means it will take 5 hours to charge up the bike from empty. That's what the port looks like. And this is where you'd plug it in. There's a small release at the bottom that you need to push in order to remove it. There's some venting beneath the frame here where the cables come out. The bike is engaged with a torque sensor. We'll talk about that in the upcoming first-person riding footage. You get metal pedals, a rear-mounted sturdy kickstand, and a wide Aventon saddle. Offers a little bit of comfort, but what offers more is the suspension seat post that comes included. This is what you can expect out of the suspension seat post. And don't forget, there's a preload adjustment at the bottom. The rear rack has a 59-pound capacity. You can hang some panniers right here, or check this out. The rear rack is MIC compatible. And so all of our accessories that are labeled MIC on our website are compatible. They simply snap into place. Check this out. Simply slide the front in and push down, clips into place. And we sell a liner for this, or you can buy a bungee net, or maybe you have a furry friend. We have a pet carrier as well. And to remove, you just take the tool that comes with, slide it into place, pops right out. The Adventure 3 has a 750 watt motor that peaks at 1,188 watts. Again, engaged with a torque sensor. The derailleur is Shimano Altus. Gearing in the rear is 12 to 32 teeth. Up front, you have 48 teeth with these unique protectors on the chainring. There's a chainstay protector to keep your frame looking nice. And for accents around the bike, we have Adventure on the top tube, Aventon on the down tube, and Adventure on the rear stays. With that, let's get into some first-person riding footage and see how this bike performs. I know there are a lot of people watching this wanting to see how the 36 volt system performs. Almost every other fat tire e-bike is at least 48 volt. And so, yes, we will see how hard it is to get to 28, and we'll do a hill climb test as well. But first, a throttle only test. With pedal assist turned off, no access to the throttle, but full access in any pedal assist level. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, throttle only. Certainly hear the motor. 16, and there's 20 miles an hour. And already I can tell you from riding hundreds of electric bikes that throttle only test, I wouldn't know it was a 36 volt system if Aventon didn't tell us. It didn't say it on the battery. Now let's go through the various pedal assist levels. I'm going to shift all the way down. Now remember, this bike is using a torque sensor, which means the more power I put into the pedals, the more power I'm going to get from the motor. So we'll start in Eco, pedal assist level 1. And remember, in Eco and Sport, I left the settings as the bike comes shipped. And then in Turbo, I turned assistance all the way up to 100%, but also pedal response. The max torque in every pedal assist level is set to 80 Newton meters. All right, here we go. Eco, first gear. And very quick engagement from the motor, though not going to get a ton of power in Eco. Just gently spinning my legs, 7, 8 miles an hour. I'm going to shift up to third gear just so it's a little bit easier to put more pedal power in, maybe even fourth gear here. So very easy to cruise. Now I'm at 10 miles an hour, and then yes, more power from the legs equals just a little bit more power from the motor, though certainly not as much as you get in the higher levels. And putting in a moderate amount, I could still pedal like this for a long time, but cruising between around 15 miles an hour. And then if I really wanted to get a workout in, we are going to get closer to the 20 mile per hour mark, around 18. All right, moving up to Sport. We'll kind of see what the cruising speed is. We'll leave it in fourth gear here. And I can kind of just hear the motor just a little bit kind of humming along. And then I'll shift up to fifth gear and getting closer to 20 miles per hour. There's 18. Shift up to sixth gear. All right, 19. And then we'll see if I can get into the 20s here. All right, now I'm hearing more power from the motor. There's 21, 22. And certainly putting in some effort, but still amount of leg power I could maintain at least for 10 miles or so. All right, and now let's go into Turbo. Now I turned pedal response to 100%, so I'm very curious how that feels. And just so I get to feel all that motor power, we're gonna start from a stop here. Now I do know from the previous generation, you really had to work for 28 miles per hour. We'll see if that's the case here. All right, first gear, Turbo. And yeah, it's pretty impressive with this torque sensor. Like as soon as I put pressure on the pedals, I'm getting motor power. And still a pretty gentle takeoff. I'm going to shift up here to third, fourth gear. Now, of course, that's because I didn't start pedaling very hard from a stop. Fifth gear now. And this is where you can kind of tell the difference between the pedal assist levels. Shifting up to sixth gear, 18 miles an hour, very doable, super easy. 19. And then let's shift up to seventh gear, just a little bit more power from the legs. There's 22, 23. I'm going to shift up to eighth gear. Remember, that's the highest gear. There's 24, and still not putting a ton of effort on the legs. All right, now let's see. A little bit more there. 25 according to the display, 26. Okay, so I'm pretty impressed. I remember having to pedal so hard on the previous generation to hit 28, and this is very doable, not ghost pedaling. So yeah, I could cruise at 27, 28 miles an hour, very easy for a long ride if I wanted to get somewhere fast. All right, let's test out the brakes here at the fire hydrant. Trying not to lock up the tire. These Tektro hydraulic disc brakes are among my favorite that they put on what I'll call more budget bikes. Let's talk briefly about ergonomics. So handlebars have a slight swoop to them. You're still leaned over a little bit. I mean, there's a reason my dad put an adjustable stem on his Adventures. He just wants a little bit more of an upright riding position. That's more of a personal preference. And it's an accessory that's fairly easy to install, or a bike shop could do it for you if that's the kind of riding position that you want. Now the rubber grips, they feel decent in the hands. If I had a choice, I'd go with more ergonomic grips. They're just nicer for long rides. And I have to say, while the seat feels firm, I don't know if it's the design or the shape, it actually doesn't feel too bad. The suspension seat post certainly helps. I'd rather have it than not have it. But the one we sell certainly offers more comfort. And again, there's just a limit of what Aventon can put on a $2,000 fat tire e-bike. A suspension seat post is one of those more rare accessories that we don't typically see. Usually companies offer it aftermarket. I wanted to take the bike off-road because that's one thing that this bike is capable of course. I want to talk about how it feels, but also why people buy fat tire electric bikes. I think one, the look, they just look very aggressive. If you haven't seen one in person, it's a big bike. The fat tires just give off a certain vibe, if you will. Of course, the fat tires also offer some comfort, being you can lower the tire pressure a little bit if you want to. And the wider platform just gives you a little bit more stability as well. But I think the reason these bikes have been so popular, and one of the reasons that the Aventure was such a popular model from Aventon, is just that you can do anything with it, really. I mean, besides maybe some single track mountain biking. And I think there's a lot of people who are buying their first electric bike and they might not know what they get up to on an electric bike. So they don't want to be hampered with street tires and then decide, oh, I actually really like going on fire roads or taking a shortcut like this here. And so buying a fat tire bike kind of checks all the boxes. A perfect example of this is my dad rides on paved streets almost exclusively, but he still likes the fat tires. He can handle the extra weight of the bike, so he doesn't really care about that. He's got a motor and he's happy. But the cool thing is, just depending on where you live, you can just take this bike off-road, and the suspension certainly helps up front, and the suspension seat post as well, especially going over that very bumpy grass section there. Campsites are also a great use case, fire roads, things like that. Really anything that's a little bit wider, say some double track, crushed gravel. This is the kind of bike you want for that type of terrain. And if you noticed that entire section of me going off-road, my cell phone didn't go anywhere. This is the best cell phone mount that I've tested. We sell it at shop.ebikeescape.com. It's pricey, but it's super good quality. All right, I've had enough fun on the trail here. Let's see how this bike does up our hill climb test. Welcome to the hill climb test. This is the hill that I test out all the electric bikes that I review on the channel. The GoPro makes this hill look so much smaller than it is, so I'll put up a picture as well as the specs. And I did do some digging on the first generation Aventure. The minimum speed was around 12 miles an hour. So we'll see what the Aventure 3 can do. And I really view 11 to 15 miles an hour is pretty darn good. And then anything over 15 miles an hour as a minimum speed is just downright impressive on this steep hill. And of course, being a fat tire e-bike, even more so, additional weight. And the hill is starting now, going down a little bit, 18, 17, and 16. All right, I think this should calm any concerns about the 36 volt system. 16 miles an hour was the minimum speed, and now we're back to climbing 18 miles an hour. So extremely impressive. I would say it performs better than even some 48 volt bikes, of course, depending on the motor. And we made it to the top, no problem. But I'm gonna go back down the hill and talk about how that torque sensor feels while pedaling up a huge hill. I shifted all the way down and we are going to start in eco, though I'm going to guess that I'm going to want to go into turbo pretty quickly. And we'll see though. All right, hill is starting now, 8 miles an hour, and certainly putting in plenty of my own leg power. Let's go up to sport, see if I feel any relief there. Not a whole lot. I really have to push down even harder to get more power out of the motor. That's typically the case with some torque sensor electric bikes, but let's go into turbo. All right, maybe a little bit better there. As long as I can keep my legs spinning, I can go around 8 miles an hour. But in order to get more power from the motor, you really do have to push pretty hard, creeping up to 13 miles an hour. So this is one of those bikes where if you're going up a steep hill like this, what I would recommend, just use that throttle, shift into a gear that's comfortable, and just pedal alongside it. Of course, if you're trying to not use up as much battery, you might want to stay in turbo and put in more effort, but that's what's nice about having the throttle here, is you can just get full power from the motor, and we know the motor is capable. All right, with that, let's get into some third-person riding footage. I'll give you my concluding thoughts and the pros and cons of the new Aventon Aventure 3.
The Aventon Aventure 2 was so ahead of its time that even now it doesn't feel like it's gathering dust in the garage. No shock there, it was the best-selling fat tire e-bike for a reason, but the Aventure 3 brings some fresh upgrades that might tempt Aventure 2 owners to trade up or convince first-time buyers to take the plunge. One massive improvement steals the show, with a few others that'll appeal to certain riders, and yes, there's always considerations, which we'll get into. Before that though, I have to give a shout out to the 36-volt system. Having tested all of the other new Aventon e-bikes, I knew it packed solid power, but I wasn't sure how it would handle the Aventure 3's extra heft. Simply put, it impressed me, really surprised me up our hill climb test, and on flat ground, Class 3 speeds are much more easily attainable than I would have thought. Another cool thing with this refresh, the Aventure 3 joins the list of Aventon e-bikes that share the same battery pack. So if you're an Aventon family, so to speak, you can swap packs between models. The battery is average size, but delivers a respectable 30 to 60 miles depending on how you ride and all of the other factors that go into range. Priced at $1999, the Aventure 3 nails that sweet $2,000 mark. But here's where Aventon really shines, their 1,800 plus dealer network. You can check it out in person, take it for a spin, and know there's a bike shop nearby if you need service. I also love the sizing options. Beyond step-through and high-step frames, you get two sizes, regular and large, with different wheelbases and reaches. That's something that's rare for more affordable e-bikes. So if you're shorter but crave a full-size fat tire rig, this might be your ticket. And a small thing, they bumped the water resistance up from IPX4 to IPX5. That's a small win. The Tektro hydraulic disc brakes perform extremely well, and the Shimano drivetrain is perfectly adequate for recreational riding. The MIC-compatible rear rack is a differentiator for easy storage, and if you're a gear hauler, the 4-bolt head-tube pattern has you covered for extra accessories up front. Now, the star of the show, it's gotta be the Ride Tune feature. Why should an e-bike brand dictate how each pedal assist level feels? With 3 customizable levels, you tweak it to how you like within the Aventon app. Of all of the smart features, this one's the game changer in my opinion. Speaking of smart, the other tech is underrated, but adds serious value to some riders, especially since no one is really doing this at this price point. Locking wheel for quick lockups, lost mode, GPS tracking, built-in alarm, and motion detection. Yes, please. The app is also very well designed. You can tell Aventon put in the work. And geofencing is a cool perk too. Set your riding zone, and if someone happens to swipe your bike, it's basically a brick. Okay, time for some nitpicks, because I'm reaching here. I think the Aventure 3 is a solid fat tire e-bike. My dad, who owns the previous generation models, has already been drooling over this one, checking out some of its new functionality. That said, an adjustable stem would have been nice for extra customization. The suspension seat post helps, but don't expect a ton of additional comfort from it, especially when you compare it to higher end options. Next, the charger port is low on the battery, so plugging it in can be a little bit tricky, at least when it's installed in the bike. So removing the battery to charge might be easier for some. Next, the display. While functionality is great, in direct sunlight, it can glare like any LCD screen. If we've helped you decide on the Aventure 3 or any other Aventon e-bike, do me a quick favor, use our link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen now before you make your purchase. If you're buying in store, email me your receipt at ryan@ebikeescape.com. We can still get credit. Thank you so much for supporting eBike Escape. It makes videos like this one possible. These updates align with Aventon's recent lineup refreshes, but the Aventure 3 stands out more than other fat tire e-bikes due to its unique features. Pair that with an awesome dealer network and it's one of our top picks. What do you think? Drop a comment down below. What else would you like to see Aventon add? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.